Secret Wars is coming. One of the biggest crossover events from the comics will probably be the MCU's next big crossover mega event. What happens when the multiverse collapses and everything dies? Well, that's how you get Secret Wars. So, Secret Wars. Lots of talk about Secret Wars. The Russo brothers have been talking about the possibility of them doing a Secret Wars movie. And yeah, considering how many times they spoke about it, I'm confident that there are active plans for them to return and do a Secret Wars movie. And based on their previous work, I think they are the perfect director bros for the job. According to Joe and Anthony Russo, a Secret Wars movie could actually be bigger and more ambitious than Infinity War and Endgame. And yeah, they're probably right about that. There are actually two versions of Secret Wars in the comics. The first one came out in 1984, and it is a classic. It's one of the best crossover events Marvel has ever done. Then there's the 2015 version, which is very underrated and much more ambitious in its own scale. While the Russo brothers spoke about doing an adaptation of the 80s version, I think it's more likely that the MCU version of the story will combine both the 1984 and 2015 storylines. Marvel Studios always changes stuff from the comics in order to fit things better into their own stories and continuity. I have a feeling that Secret Wars will be the climax of the next MCU saga, in the same way that Infinity War and Endgame were the culmination of the Infinity Saga. Plus, the 2015 Secret Wars focused a lot on the multiverse, and I think that the multiverse will play a big role in the next few phases. I personally think that they should split Secret Wars into two parts, maybe even three. Starting with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel should establish that the multiverse will collide and eventually collapse. And the next phases should focus on that, as the heroes will attempt to stop the end of, well, everything. Maybe the Infinity Stones could have something to do with the multiverse collapsing. And no, I don't want to bring the stones back. But maybe all the snaps in Infinity War and Endgame caused a rift in reality. Maybe the cosmic energy of the stones destabilized the foundation of the universe, causing some kind of a collapse of the entire multiverse. I think that it'll be important to show that there are everlasting consequences to the events of the Infinity Saga. While setting up the multiverse, the MCU should introduce other Earths and universes. For example, I think it'll be the right move if the X-Men and the Fantastic Four will come from another universe. I would also love to see Miles Morales coming from that same Earth. This way, the MCU could expand their stories and create a lot more stakes for the multiverse collapse. By the time we get to Secret Wars Part 1, the multiverse will begin to collide, and this is where Battleworld will come into play. In the original storyline from the 80s, it was the cosmic entity known as the Beyonder who created Battleworld, a planet of his own making where heroes and villains had to clash with each other. But in the 2015 versions, Doctor Doom was the one who created Battleworld, after taking the power of the Beyonders, the alien godlike beings who caused the multiverse to collide. Also, it's worth to mention that the Beyonder and the Beyonders are not the same beings. It's complicated, so we'll just leave it at that.
Keep it simple.
No doubt.
But since Marvel likes to keep things real simple, it's likely that they won't use the Beyonders, and instead will replace them with the Celestials. The cosmic gods have already been established in the MCU, and they will play a big role in the Eternals movie. The Celestials are very ancient. They're beings much older than the Big Bang itself, so it's possible that they've been manipulating the multiverse from the beginning of creation itself. Also, a Celestial called the One Above All is essentially Marvel's version of God, so maybe going with the Celestials instead of the Beyonders will make more sense. And who knows, maybe if they do use the Beyonder, he'll end up being a Celestial himself. Kinda like how Ego turned out to be one in the MCU. It's all possible.
I'm what's called a Celestial, sweetheart.
A celestial like a god?
Small G, son.
I think the Celestials will decide that with the inevitable cataclysm, only one universe could survive the end of the multiverse, but the inhabitants of each universe will need to fight to prove who's worthy to survive. Like in the comics, the Celestials or the Beyonder will create Battleworld, but in the MCU's version of Battleworld, champions from each universe will clash, meaning we'll see heroes and villains from different universes clashing in one place. And the prize for winning the war on Battleworld is the survival of the winner's own universe. This could create a desperate race against time. Everything dies. You can't stop the end of the multiverse. Since the heroes will probably try to prevent the cataclysm, we'll see some really emotional and intense moments. Could heroes really condemn whole other universes to be wiped out just to save their own? Or will heroes across the multiverse team up to save existence itself? just before the end comes, Doctor Doom will take the power of the Celestials, and in a last-ditch effort turn Battleworld into a type of cosmic Noah's Ark, while the rest of the multiverse will collapse. This will be the shocking cliffhanger of Part 1. Then in Part 2, and maybe even Part 3, we'll see the MCU adaptation of the 2015 version of Secret Wars. Like the comics, Doctor Doom will reshape reality with his new godly powers. And yes, I think that Doctor Doom must play a crucial role in Secret Wars and be the main villain of the story. Doom is hands down one of the best characters in Marvel history.
I agree.
And he also played a major role in both versions of Secret Wars, so the same needs to happen in the movie versions. Doom's new reality will be a mishmash of multiple incursions of universes that survived the collapse. In the comics, Doom tried to save the multiverse, but his utopia is a lie. It's all built on a secret. The secret of how the multiverse ended and how Doom named himself God, lying to everybody on Battleworld about their history. Doom was tormented by his failure, which was reflected in the broken patchwork reality of Battleworld. We saw just how fragile things can get when they're built on a secret. Since when the secret is out that Doom is not a god and Battleworld is based on a lie, chaos ensues, and war consumes the planet. And this is where Mr. Fantastic comes in. In the comics, Reed Richards proved successful where Doom failed. He was able to take the power of the Beyonders and build a better multiverse. Though it's more likely that in the MCU Secret Wars, it'll be Black Panther who'll play that role. T'Challa will probably lead the MCU in the coming years, so it makes sense that like Tony Stark before him, he will be the key to saving the multiverse. I actually think Marvel should build T'Challa's relationship with Doctor Doom as early as Black Panther 2. This way, they'll have a long and meaningful rivalry, which will culminate in a powerful ideological clash in Secret Wars. But I think that unlike Endgame, Part 2 shouldn't end with everything going back to normal. I think that the collapse of the multiverse should be everlasting. Nothing can be the same after it's all done. Instead, the Secret Wars event will lead to the creation of a new universe, which will serve as a type of a soft reboot for the MCU. One of the impressive things about the 2015 Secret Wars was how the story challenged both heroes and villains. This story worked so well, not because of the scale of it all, but how personal it all was. Secret Wars was a story where the existence of everything and everyone was at stake. It was about paranoia, jealousy, and self-doubt. The story was about ideological battles and hopeless odds. The story mattered because it was about people understanding their true selves, coming to terms with their own failures and imperfections. Secret Wars was about how the end of everything shows people who they really are, how your worst traits can corrupt the world around you, how heroes got challenged in the most personal way possible, and how the best of them were able to rise up. Secret Wars was about how everything dies, but also about finding hope when there's nothing left, having the sheer willpower to keep going, even against all odds, and start something new, something better. I really do love the original Secret Wars story. It's one of my favorite comic book stories ever, but the 2015 version is one of the best and most underrated stories Marvel has ever done. And if both versions are combined and done right, I think we could get the best MCU story to date. I feel like the multiverse is the only natural step forward for Marvel. The MCU is getting a little too overcrowded. This is the reason why Marvel Studios needs to start expanding beyond their main universe. Having stories set on other Earths is the best way to make the MCU feel so much grander. And just imagine if with all these other universes we get cameos from older Marvel movies, like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, making one last stand with all the other older X-Men cast.
Oh!
Big fan of Spider-Man.
Oh, hello.
How cool would it be to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man teaming up with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield? We could even see Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans return for a quick cameo as the Iron Man and Captain America from another universe. Just imagine all those actors and characters sharing the screen for even one moment. The magnitude of a crossover event like that could make the Portal scene look small. And look, I'm totally aware that it's very possible that everything I said will turn out to be wrong. And the MCU Secret Wars will be just like the original comics from the 80s, and there won't be a multiverse at play. Which will be totally fine. The original version is amazing, and if that's what they want to do, then that's what they're gonna do. I would just prefer for them to go with the multiverse angle, so hopefully, the MCU Secret Wars will end up being the best of both worlds. Anyway, what type of Secret Wars would you like to see? Do you like this idea, or do you have something better in mind? Let me know. And if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit that old like button and make sure to subscribe to CBR for more cool videos. See you next time, and thanks a lot for watching.